my people proud, I'm real as it gets. Gon' have to taste me, I go like a idiot.
Now, I'm not sure how many of these videos I can actually make, because I think this is really the only one where I have a lot of footage. I thought it'd be cool to make a similar video to my air dug video, but a lot shorter and with a lot more footage. So August 31st, 2019 was probably the most insane night of racing I've ever been a part of in my life. And luckily, I had my friend Wyatt there filming for another project that I was going to do back in 2019, and then I didn't wind up actually doing anything. But as I was making the air dug video, I found a bunch of footage from this night. I feel like this night deserves its own video with how insane it was. I've never been to a race where stuff happened like this. I've never seen a race where something happened like this. But this is going to have a ton of footage from that night. So I don't want this to be as long as the air dug video. I know I kind of rambled on a lot, but that was more of a name change. This is more of a story video. So kind of like the air dug race, August 31st just kind of felt like a normal night. This is also one of those nights where we had twin 60s. And the field was stacked this night. We had Peyton Sellers, we had Philip Morris, Mike Looney, and then the Dominion regulars are me and Tyler. And I'm pretty sure at this time during the season, all of us were actually in the top 15 in the national points. So this is by far the best field in the country this night. And on top of national points, this is back in 2019, so me and Tyler are also racing for track points. So I don't actually remember where I qualified in this race, but I remember I started on the outside pole during the race. And actually during the autograph session, I was talking to Mike Looney, and he was asking me if the topside worked at Dominion. And it hadn't been up to that race, so I told him no. And then I actually wound up taking the lead from him on the outside lane in the beginning of the race. So once I got out to the lead, I didn't really put any ground on anybody until they started racing side by side. Then I put a few car lanes in between me and second. And then Tyler Hughes, the guy that I talked about last video, again, probably my biggest rival, he got in the second and he quickly started running me down. Now I knew very early on that we probably did not have a car to beat, just because I was so free on entry and it didn't seem to matter what I did inside the car to adjust it. Adding some front brake didn't help. I just could not get the rear end to stay underneath of the car. And if you don't really understand racing terms, it's like the car is unintentionally drifting going into the corner, so it just makes it hard to handle. And really at Dominion Raceway, that's a big part of your entire corner is your entry. Just because you carry so much speed, you need to carry it through the entire corner. But Tyler got beside me. Obviously, we're racing for the lead. I don't care how early on in the race it is. These are short races. They're only 60 laps apiece. I was going to run them hard. So we ran hard probably for 5 or 6 laps. So Tyler has a habit of running into you if you stay beside him for too long. But he got into my left rear going off into the corner. You can see him kind of push up, and then he spun me out. We both got sent to the rear. And then as the race went on, we started making our way back through the field. Me and him actually followed each other. But like I said in the beginning, my car was really loose on entry, and that almost started going through the corner, almost to the point where it was loose even when I was rolling, which gave me no run off the corner. It was making it extremely hard to pass people. And nothing else really happened between me and Tyler, but being impatient and not being able to get by a car, I wrecked the fucking Jersey Mike car. I didn't mean to wreck the Jersey Mike car. Normally, if I would do something like that, I would apologize to the driver because I did not mean to like wreck that man's equipment. That's not what I do. I have my own stuff going on with Tyler, so I was kind of frustrated from that, and I think that's the reason why I was so aggressive for like 10th. Now, after the race was over, Tyler walked into my pit and he shook my hand. And he's like, "Hey, man, I apologize for spinning you out." I don't remember exactly what his excuse was. I think it was something with his power steering. But either way, I didn't want to carry anything into the next race, so, you know, it's like, all right, man, it is what it is. Can't take it back. Now, when you race twin 60-lap races in one night, pretty much what they do after the first race is they invert the cars, the top 8. So 8th starts first, 7th starts second, and then first will start 8th, second will start 7th, so on like that. So with that invert, I'm not sure how it exactly came to be. I'm pretty sure that Tyler's backup car pulled down in the pits, and somehow we lined up first and third. Now in this race, Tyler quickly got the jump and he kind of broke out to a bit of a lead, and then a caution brought us all back together. And once we went back racing, it was pretty obvious that I had a faster car, so I ran him down. And it was almost a reverse of the first race. This time I was on the inside battling for the lead and he was on the outside, and again we ran side by side for a few laps. But like I had talked about in the first race, I was really fighting a car that was really loose on entry, and after a few laps you can kind of see my car brakes free going off into turn 1. And then to save it, I just wound up saving it in his door. Now, I'm sure this seemed intentional on his end, and I fully understand because, you know, he wrecked me in the first race, and then I got him back right there. Again, unintentionally. You can see the car break free. It obviously wasn't intentional, but I understand why you would think it was intentional. And now Tyler has damage, and with this is just a lot more than a race because we are racing for points at this track. So we are head-to-head right now. Only a few points separate us. And now he's damaged in the back, and I have a perfectly okay car. I get sent to the back, but I'm more than capable of coming up through the field. So I actually got to backtrack a little bit before we get into this next part. Now, Tyler has another car on track that's the exact same paint scheme, but it's the number 11. The number 11 is his car owner, aka a heat-seeking missile. He'll go after anybody that touches Tyler. When I say anybody, I pretty much just mean me. But luckily, there's another car on the track that looks exactly like my car. And that's my younger brother who was out there. He used to race back in the day. He was out there for car count and national points. Pretty much the more cars there are to track, the more national points you can earn. So that's why he was there. So now I don't actually have footage of this because my cameraman Wyatt was filming my brother on accident thinking it was me, because like I said, the cars are identical. The only difference is that I have blue tape on my spoiler and he has orange on his. But pretty much what you see right here is what he did once, and I just ran over him. I was not expecting a lap car to slam on the brakes on corner entry. And of course, you know, Dominion Raceway and the NASCAR officials saw it as my fault because, you know, I would intentionally wreck a car that's a few laps down that is also the backup car of my other championship contender, because that would just be a great move for me. So with the footage you see here, when you're a lap car, you're supposed to stay on the bottom and let the leaders or lead lap cars pass you on the outside. That's just how it works. And you can see that he's not dumb to this. He does it for the car that's in front of me, that white car. And then once I get to him on the back stretch, suddenly the 11 is racing for position on me, and he pulls up and you can see him slam on the brakes going off into the corner. And I check up really hard. I slide up the track and I almost get run over by the car behind me. And then the next corner, he does the same exact thing, and this time I have nowhere to go, and I run him over, spin him out. And again, NASCAR is like, man, this guy really must have it out for this fucking backup car, right? It makes a ton of sense that I'm just wrecking him. He's definitely not doing anything, right? So now I get sent to the back again. And now we're well into this race, and there's not a lot of time to come back up through the field. So this shit is just ridiculous in my opinion. I've never seen anything like it. I've never had a heat-seeking missile just coming after me every single time. I guess he's not really a heat-seeking missile, is he? Because he's in front of me. But either way, he's just in the way, causing me to wreck him. And now, like I said, he's done that twice. Only one's on film. I don't know exactly how many laps we have left. There's probably 10 or 15 laps to go. Don't forget, I have another car in this race too. And now Tyler is coming through the field. He's way in front of me. And his modified looking car is coming through the field pretty quickly. Now, my brother was stuck on the outside lane, a few cars up in front of me. And the outside lane really wasn't rolling here. Some nights it works, some nights it doesn't. At this point, NASCAR has penalized me twice for wrecking a lap down car. You know what? I have a backup car too, and if y'all are going to target me, then we might just drive into the corner a little bit harder than you. And that's exactly what my brother did. Just got in a little hot, didn't mean to wreck him or anything, but you can be the judge of that. And then, like the smart man that he is, the number 11 of Paul Green decides, you know what would really mess up his other car? Put in the radiator through the fuel cell. Paul Green comes up like the white knight that he is and just destroys the front of his car. I love when the announcer is like, my goodness, in the middle of it. Like you can hear it in the background. So having a backup car really worked to my advantage right there, just because my brother is more than capable of staying on the lead lap, while like his guy is usually 3 laps down in a 60 lap race. It's like they wanted to fight fire with fire, but we had a fucking flamethrower. Shout out Trent. All of this is really contributing to an insane night, but the race still isn't over. So once we get back racing, I pick off a few more cars, and I kind of have a roadblock in front of me. I can't go anywhere. But they actually gift me 2 spots at the end of the race. I think the 01 cut a tire and went up into the 82. So somehow after wrecking for the lead, spinning out in a lap car twice, and getting sent to the back, and everything else that happened, I wound up finishing 6th, and more importantly in front of Tyler, so I increased my points lead by a little bit. Now keep in mind, just because I beat him and increased my points lead by a little bit, I wasn't happy with the outcome of that race. Like I still want to race for wins, and they were weaponizing his backup car. So, you know, I feel like NASCAR is almost like hockey in a way. Like, you know, if you fuck somebody over, then it's like you should fight. I believe that's how it should be. So I parked in my pit, and he's only 2 pit stalls over. I came over the radio, and I was like, all right, we're scrapping after this one. So the second that I get into my pit stall, I jump out. I already had all my gear off. I was ready to fight. And I get bear hugged by our one guy, Steve. And they take me back into the trailer, and they're like, we can't risk the point stuff tonight. You know, it's not worth it. You increased your lead. You don't need to take a penalty. So I'm like, well, if I'm not going to be there, then I guess there's not going to be a fight. So this video takes place after the race. And like I said, they're only 2 pit stalls away from us, so it's not like they're very far away. So you can see it starts out with Tyler, like, being held back. Fuck you, fuck. But I feel like if Tyler would have been let go, he would have just stood in place. He would not have done anything. So we'll kind of just let the video play.
I'm going back to get it faster than you. I'll fuck you up every week. Fuck you, Trent. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're a bitch. You're a bitch. Fuck you. You're a bitch. You're a fucking bitch.
Justin, don't. Justin. Justin, don't.
So now right before the fight actually breaks out, I want to point out that this guy in the green hat right here, I'm pretty sure that's the same guy that shot my Air Doug video. Now that guy is a member of Race 22, and Race 22 is pretty much a media company and they cover the races. He is not a part of my team. He's not a part of Tyler Hughes' team, but he gets absolutely jumped as if he's a part of my team right here.
Justin, don't.
They jack him up on the car. They take his hat. This guy in the blue shirt like pulls him down the hood. And you can see my guy, Steve, who is also the one that stuffed me in the trailer, just swimming through everybody. He's almost fighting for the Race 22 guy. And then the talking and stuff carries on for a little bit longer. So the next week before practice started on Saturday, we had to go to a meeting, and it was me, I want to say my dad, Tyler, Paul's the guy that kept brake checking in front of me, Tyler's other car. And we had to meet with NASCAR that morning and have a meeting about the events that took place the week prior. And pretty much everybody's like agreeing not to do it again, even though it happened again a year later. So we got into the elevator afterward, and immediately I started going off on Paul Green. Like, I didn't give a shit about like what the NASCAR meeting said. And he was trying to tell me that he didn't know I was behind him. And then I had the footage from my Instagram, so I was showing him, I'm like, what were you doing here? And then he admitted to doing one of them. And of course I didn't have the film for the second one, so he didn't admit to that. But pretty much it was almost a waste of time even talking to him, because that man is not competition. So we went on to win the championship that year, but that was one of the most insane nights of the season and probably in my career of racing. The fact that it went on so long and nobody got parked and there was really no penalties handed out. Like I said, we got the last laugh and we won our second championship that year. So that pretty much concludes the video of the most insane night of racing. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. I appreciate it a lot. It helps me stay motivated. If you could subscribe, we've been gaining a lot of subscribers lately too. I've been trying to upload every 3 or 4 days, so I'm going to try and stick to that. If I can't stick to that, I'm not going to really hold myself to it, but I'll definitely have at least one video out a week. Also, any feedback you can give me on the video is great. I don't really think there's much else to say, so I'll see you guys in the next video.